Hey everybody, this is ᵗʰᵦ of GameCore. Look at this thing, it's ridiculous. This is called the Thumby. It's literally the size of a thumb. Now you're supposed to be able to put this thing on a keychain and play a few games, and so that's what we're going to do today. We're going to check this out and see if it's worth playing. I'm a little bit skeptical that this thing is even going to be worth it, but without any further delay, let's jump into this review. Now, this device has been around for about a month now. It actually had a successful Kickstarter campaign with something like 4,500 backers, so this thing is legit. And you can still purchase it through Indiegogo. Right now, you can get it for $24 for a colored one or the plain one for $19. You can also get multiples of these and actually do multiplayer on them through a USB cable link, which is honestly kind of crazy. Okay, so let's unbox this thing and see what's inside. It comes with a micro USB cable, which is honestly many times bigger than the device itself, which is kind of funny. But this is how you would charge it. They also sent along this nice little business card here, and it looks like they've actually done other devices before. This isn't their first rodeo. And here's the device itself. I appreciate the fact that they put it inside of a Game Boy case. That's pretty cool. And holding this thing in the hands, it's just ridiculous. I don't know what else to say. It's just kind of stupidly small. It's funny that the micro USB port is just so large on this device. It's funny. There's no real I/O to it. There's just a switch to turn it on and off, and that's it. And there we go. Here's our splash screen. It just says Thumby and go. You can scroll down and see that they have 5 different games that are available. And the text on this is tiny. It's legible, but it is super small. Let's zoom in a little bit so we can get a better idea. Now, the start and select buttons on here are not actual buttons. They're just bumps. So it's really just the D-pad and A and B. And the buttons stick out just a tiny bit from the case. And they're very clicky. There's a little bit of response when you push down on them, but it is kind of hard to know when to push down on it, just because they're so dang small. So let's try the first game on the list here. It's called ᵗʰᶦⁿᵍ, and this is basically just a smaller version of Snake. Now, all these games were actually developed on something called MicroPython, and this platform is actually open source. So if you wanted to develop a game for it, sky's the limit. So this thing is running on a Raspberry Pi 2040 microcontroller, and believe it or not, this device has an OLED display. It's only 72 by 40 pixels, but that is what it is. The battery itself is a 40 milliamp hour battery, and it gives you about 2 hours of gameplay. And I gotta say, the gameplay itself is not very fun. This thing is so dang small, you have to use your fingernails to push down on it, and honestly, it's just pretty hard to do. Let's try the next game here. This is called ᵗʰᶦⁿᵍ Run. And this one's pretty simple. It's just a single button to push down and jump on. So honestly, I like the fact that I don't have to use the D-pad because that's kind of a pain with my fingernails, but at the same time, this is kind of boring. So let's try the next one here. This one's called Royalty-Free Space Debris. And this is basically a take on asteroids. The thing is, you can definitely shoot with this, but at the same time, I'm not sure what you're supposed to shoot because I don't see any asteroids to shoot. You can definitely pick up some speed with your little spaceship, but honestly, I never actually saw anything happen, so this one's kind of a waste. Next up, we have one called ᵗʰᶦⁿᵍ, and this is supposed to be a role-playing game. The thing is, there might be a manual for this somewhere, but you're basically just a single character moving around, and then I get this prompt to say act on, but when I hit A, nothing happens. And if I hit B, it brings up a menu, and in the menu, there doesn't seem to be anything you can do either. So I gotta say, within 2 minutes, this role-playing game beat me. I don't know what the heck to do with it. But, that being said, I don't know how much depth this game has. And finally, we have one here called ᵗʰᶦⁿᵍ, and as you can see, it's basically Tetris. The thing is, it is so hard to see this thing. I'm just squinting to look at it, and I got pretty good eyesight. I have 20/20 vision, but all the same, I'm having a really hard time lining up everything. And there's not much of a UI with this system. I think only one game would actually allow you to exit. All the other ones you had to actually just flip off the device to turn it off. But yeah, in a nutshell, that is the gameplay experience on the Thumby. Before I actually get into my thoughts about everything, let's do a quick size comparison. Now, I have a few micro consoles, and so I'll show off those real quick. But honestly, I don't have anything that's like the size of the Thumby here. So let's start with this one here. This one's called the Gamebox ESP32 Mini. And I got this one from myretrogamecase.com, and I tried it out for a day or two, and honestly, I just decided not to do a review on it, because honestly, I just didn't like it. The A and B buttons are actually just one single button, and the D-pad is just kind of horrible. It can play like Game Boy and Game Gear games and stuff like that, but none of them play very well. The sound's terrible, and it's like everything has frame skip. On top of that, the buttons are just not fun to push on. And I think this goes for something like $45, totally not worth it. Now the next huge jump in quality is this one here. This is the Thumby S, and I did a video on this one, and I did really like it. It's just so dang small. This one is the atomic purple one, but it has a couple other colors as well. And honestly, everything about this device is really great. For example, when you flip open the screen, it actually starts the device right up. And it has a wonderful sleep mode, and it can play up to PS1. And in my video, my biggest complaint was the fact that the controls were just so small that it wasn't very enjoyable. But in hindsight, compared to the Thumby, this thing is like luxuriously big. I think this has a 1.5-inch screen and a 240 by 240 display, but honestly, it looks beautiful. It has really nice colors, and the controls, for being as small as they are pretty good. It's just a little bit too small for my tastes, but if you like really small devices, this thing is kind of amazing. Like I said in my video, this is top-notch quality through and through. It's just a little bit small. In fact, I would say the smallest device that I can comfortably play is this one here. This is the TrimUI Model S, or the Powkiddy A66. This thing has a 2-inch screen and can play most 16-bit systems and a little bit of PS1 as well. And honestly, if you're going to do a small console, for me, this is the best fit. This is just small enough to be super pocketable, and while this is far from something I would recommend as your primary retro handheld device, it's still relatively comfortable to play. It has these nice clicky buttons and D-pad, and just has a lot of appeal with this clear case as well. But that being said, the Thumby is no comparison to it. Look at how small this thing is. It's actually smaller than the screen of this entire device. And so really, I think that's the angle I'm going to take with the Thumby here. This is just a novelty. I don't think that they had any intention of making this a primary device. It's really just an engineering marvel. The fact that they made such a tiny little display and little tiny buttons and it fits on a keychain, it's all kind of cool, you know, and I like the fact that it costs less than $25. I think that's the appropriate price for this. This is the kind of device that you would turn on and play for about 1 or 2 minutes. And honestly, just based on the games that you have available, 1 or 2 minutes is about as long as you're going to want to play this thing anyway. So if you're looking for something that's totally unique for you or one of your loved ones, this might be a good choice. Anyway, let me know what you think in the comments below. I'm kind of interested to see what you think about this. And as always, thanks for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe if you found this helpful, and we'll see you next time. Happy gaming.